Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Nice to see you. I hope you'll accept this feeble attempt at substitution for Dan, who's suffering from some tooth-related problems. Pain is getting a little bit less. I'm sure in a few more days he'll be fine. So we're going to wait another minute or two, and at 6 o'clock, we will begin. I hope you're all well. Well, we'll talk about that. Yeah. Complicated times. Thanks, Marcia. I mean, you're all, there's so few of you. You're welcome to, as long as your environment is quiet, to take off your mute. You can't take it off. Oh, that's a rule of Temple Adas Israel. Okay, I can't fool around with that. Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. We're gonna begin. Of course, you understand. I've had to create a little sanctuary here in my office in Manhattan. So I'm sharing with you. These are our candlesticks are my mother's candlesticks, you know. So we're going to start with them. I'm going to put them in front of me. And so we will begin. Let's see, right? I'll move them over a little bit more so you can see. And I have a treat for you when we get to Kiddush, by the way, a beautiful piece of ceramic. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lehadlik ner, shel Shabbat, lehadlik ner, shel Shabbat. I know normally you begin with Yedid Nefesh on page 128, but I'd actually like to sing the extraordinarily beautiful poem at the very bottom of 128, Hachama Merosh. It's a poem by Chaim Nachman Bialik, who was the sort of poet laureate of the pre-state and early years of the state of Israel. He probably is still considered to be that, even though he's obviously been long gone. But it's a very beautiful poem. In it, you can read the English at the bottom, and if you went to Jewish camps when you were younger, you may actually remember this melody. Achama merosh, ha'ila nistalaka, bohu v'neitzei, likrat Shabbat ha'mahalaka, hine hi yoredet, ha'kedosha ha'berucha, ve'ima malachim, tzva shalom u'menucha, boi, boi, ha'malaka, boi, boi, ha'kala, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom. Pretty, yeah? Okay. So now we're going to turn to page 130 for Lechuna Ranana. Some of the melodies, of course, that I'm going to use may not be the ones that you're completely familiar with, or they may return you to melodies that you're even more familiar with. But I'll try and stay with, because I try and watch every week. So I'll try and stay with your melodies, but you'll forgive me when I go off into another territory. Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena ladonai. Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena ladonai. Naria, naria, litzor yishenu, nikadma panav bitoda. Naria, naria, litzor yishenu, nikadma panav bitoda. Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena ladonai. Lechu niranena, lechu niranena, lechu niranena ladonai. You see there that I missed a cue. Okay. So I'm not listening carefully enough every week. Turn now to page 131, and we'll sing together. Shiru ladonai shir chadash, Shiru ladonai kol haaretz, Shiru ladonai baruchu shemo, basru miyom liyom yeshuato, sapru vagoyim kevodo, bechol ha'amim nefleotav. Ki gadol Adonai, umehulal me'od, norahu, al kol Elohim, ay, ki kol Elohei, ha'amim elilim, va'adonai shamayim asa, hod v'hadar, Lehefanav oz v'tiferet be'mikdasho yismechu. What do I do here? La 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la la. Ya la la la, ya la la la. At least my live audience is forgiving. The audience on YouTube is going to be unforgiving, but what can we do? Okay, on the bottom of page 132, we'll sing together Or Zaru ala Tzadik. Or Zaru ala Tzadik. Ule Yisrael simcha, or zarua la tzadik. Ule Yisrael simcha, simchu tzadikim ba'Adonai, vehodu lezecher kodsho. Simchu tzadikim ba'Adonai, Vehodu lezecher kodsho. Page 134. Zamru ladonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra, bechatzotzrot vekol shofar. Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai, Yiram hayam umloho, Tevel v'yoshveva, Neharot yimchau chaf, Yachad harim yiranenu. Lifnei Adonai kiva. Lishpot haaretz. Yishpot tevel betzedek. Ve'amim b'meisharim. Yiram hayam umlo'o. Tevel v'yoshveva. Neharot imcha uchaf yachad. Harim yiranenu. Now turn to page 135, the last few lines for Romamu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Now we'll turn to page 138 for Lechadodi, and we're going to do, I know you have a variety of paragraphs that you do. We'll do 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, which I presume is what you often do. But if I get stuck with this job next week, we'll do 2, 4, 6, 8, and we won't have a 10. Lechadodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Hishmianu el hamiyuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad. L'shem u'l'tiferet v'litila. Lechadodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, Umitzei mitocha hafecha, Rav lach shevet b'emek habacha, Vehu yachamol alayich chemla. Lechadodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hit'oreri, Kiva orech, Kumi ori, Uri, Shir daberi, Kivod Adonai alayich nigla. Lechadodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. V'hayu limshisa shosayich, V'rachaku kol mevalayich, Yasis alayich Elohayich kimsos chatan al kala. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat nikabela. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzohala, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat nikabela, lecha dodi likrat kala. Penei Shabbat nikabela. You sound beautiful, even though I can't hear you. You look like you're singing beautifully, so that's good enough. All right, page 140, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, the Psalm of the Shabbat day. Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot LaAdonai, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Lehagid baboker chastecha, V'emunatecha balelot, Alei Asor v'alei Navel, Alei Higayon Bechinor, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot LaAdonai, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. 8 lines from the bottom of the Hebrew paragraph. We'll sing together. Tzadikata Amar Yifrach Ke'erez Balavanon Yizkeh Shetulim Beveit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvun Beseva Deshenim Virananim Yiyu Lehagid Yashar Adonai Zuri Velo Avlatabo. Page 145. Actually, 144. On my sheet it says 145, but in my Siddur it's 144. The Chatzi Kaddish. If you're able to or you wish to stand, you may do so. Otherwise, you may stay exactly where you are, as I am. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Bagala, uvizman kariv, ve'yimeru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach, li'olam u'li'olmei almaya, yitbarach, ve'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei dekudesha, richu leila, min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damihiran bi'alama, v'yimeru. Amen. Page 146, Baruch Hu. Please stand if you're able. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. We'll read together on page 147, in the middle of the page. O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthermost star. We yearn to reach you. We seek the light and warmth of your presence. Though we say you are near, we are lonely and alone. Oh, let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence. Page 148. We'll read the bottom paragraph together, and then I'll chant the end of the paragraph on page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvelaila, Adonai Tsevaot Shemo, El Chai v'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Liolam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. I just want to take a moment to share with you something. Last night, yesterday, and today, we had my daughter's older son, Gabriel, who's 5 years old, with Susie and I yesterday afternoon and overnight and this morning. And he and I were trying to watch. He's been playing with a lot of Lego Star Wars. So I thought I would take a chance and see whether I could find some Star Wars on Netflix or one of the channels. And of course, as soon as I turned it on, I realized that for a 5-year-old, this was much too violent, and I had to get out of this very quickly. So I said to him, you know, people actually did land on the moon, and it's on YouTube. Would you like me to show you that? He said, sure. So there we were. So first of all, it's like night and day. You can't make out almost anything. But there is Neil Armstrong taking that step onto the moon. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And here we are reading this paragraph about the construction of that universe, of the stars, and obviously the planets aren't mentioned here, but all of this movement. So whether one is a deep believer in a God of creation or an active God in the day-to-day process of life, nonetheless, like I was just so stunned in looking at that very old video and realizing the immensity of what's out there that we haven't even touched. This tefillah, this prayer, is really about that whole universe of things that are beyond us and will be certainly for our lifetime beyond all of us. Maybe someday the human race will touch everything, but I doubt it. So a paragraph like this is a sort of an opportunity to wake up a little bit and remove some of our understandable cynicism, which we all carry around from time to time, some of us more than others, and really sort of push an appreciation, particularly in these difficult times, which I am going to talk a little bit more about later on. Okay. Now please turn to page 150 for Ahavat Olam. Again, let's read the paragraph on the bottom in English together, and then I'll chant some of what's on the top in Hebrew. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night will we reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavata, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, B'shachvenu u'v'kumeinu, Nasiach b'chukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, Le'olam va'ed. Ki heim chayenu, v'orech yameinu, v'orech yameinu, uvahem nehege, yomam v'halayla, yomam v'halayla. V'avatecha, al tasir mimenu li'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 154. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha Uvalechtecha v'derech, uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu litotafot bein einecha, uchetavtam al bezuzot beitecha, uv'shearecha. Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'yitem kedoshim ledoechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem. On the top of page 157, actually, I want to read the paragraph. I know Dan always reads that top paragraph. I want to read the bottom again. Let's read together. It's very powerful and really quite, to say the least, timely. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, Give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again, we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 158. Mi chamocha po'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh, nora tehilot, osei fele, malchutecha, rov anecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, uMiriam, ze eli anu v'amru, Adonai himloch leolam va'ed, v'nemar, Yifad Adonai et Yaakov, ugialo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Page 160. Again, let's read the English together at the bottom, and then I'll chant at the top. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardians, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, for your name's sake. Be our help, shield, and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, over all humankind, and over Jerusalem. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, L'shalom, V'hamidenu, Malkeinu, L'chaim, Ufros aleinu, Sukat shlomecha, V'taknenu b'etza tova, Milefanecha, V'hoshienu, Leman shemecha. V'hagein ba'adenu, v'haser me'alenu, oyev dever v'cherev v'ra'av yagon. V'harchek mimenu avon v'fesha, u'v'tzel kenafecha tastirenu, ki el shomrenu u'matilenu ata, ki el chanun v'rachum ata. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Haporei sukat shalom aleinu, V'al kol amo Yisrael, V'al kol yoshvei tevel, V'al Yerushalayim. Page 162 at the top of the page. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein bnei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam, oti leolam, v'shamru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et hashabat lasot et hashabat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shavat vayinafash, Shavat vayinafash, Shavat vayinafash, v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Page 164. We'll sing together the introduction to the Amidah, and the Amidah will then continue from 166 to 180. If you're able to stand, please do so. And then we'll come back together and sing Oseh Shalom. I'll shut off my screen for a bit, and then we'll come back together. But on 164, we'll sing together. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Silent Amidah. If you're still reading, please do not allow me to interrupt you. Continue. I actually think that rather than Oseh Shalom, I actually wanted to tell you something about Oseh Shalom, but I think I'd like us to sing together on 179, Lo Yisa Goy El Goy Cherev. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. We need these words of our prophets in these very difficult days. Lo Yisa Goy El Goy Cherev, Lo Yilmedu Od Milechama, Lo Yisa Goy El Goy Cherev, Lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy cherev. Lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisa goy el goy cherev. Lo yilmedu od milchama. We're now going to sing the Misha Berach. We're on Zoom, so we don't really have a way for us to for everybody to call out those people for whom they are reciting prayers. Obviously, in this moment, we start with prayers for the hostages, many of whom are ill, all of whom's lives are very precarious and are threatened. Many of those who continue to be recovering from injuries that were received on October the 7th, and soldiers who have been wounded over the course of these last weeks. And of course, we include in our prayers those who are innocents, who are suffering in Gaza from the consequences of the Hamas leadership and the brutality of their treatment of their own people. So in our prayers, we wish healing for all those who we know and the many who we don't know, who really need our prayers of healing, and Debbie Friedman's beautiful melody and her words. Let's sing together. Mi shebeirach avotenu mikor habaracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habaracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. So I'm watching the clock. I will not take advantage, but I wanted to share just a couple of thoughts with you. And I want to begin them by sharing a photograph which will introduce my topic. So I'm going to share my screen. And you may recognize this man. This is Anwar Sadat. And you may not recognize all of these young people. These were my students and a few fellow faculty members at the Park Avenue Synagogue High School in 1978, in the summer of 1978. This is before Camp David, and it's after Sadat came to Jerusalem in November of 1977. And by the summer of 1978, in the spring, we decided that we wanted to take a trip to Egypt with our students to sort of affirm what it was that Sadat had done, thinking that everything was moving along in a peaceful way. And of course, by the summer of 78, before Camp David, it appeared like everything was falling apart. But Sadat received our students at his villa in Alexandria. You may actually know some of these people, except that they're a bit older. This is Dan Caligore. This is Stephen Price. This is Professor Ross Brand at Cornell. This is Professor David Mindich, the former head of the journalism department at Temple. This is Dr. Larry Zelnick. This is internist James Stolman. This is one of the heads of CARE in South America, Phil Gelman, Ira Glazer. It's really a quite remarkable group. I show this picture to you because in these moments, we often forget who Sadat was just 5 years before this picture was taken. He was the president of the Egypt that almost destroyed the state of Israel completely. And in 1978, right after this picture was taken, and by the way, after it was taken, he turned to all of these kids and he said to them, "You are the future. You must make peace between your people, my people." And to this day, that border between Egypt and Israel, however tense it may become, is a peaceful border, even with assistance in the midst of this current situation. So I want to simply offer the picture as a hopeful testament that as difficult and seemingly impossible as our current situation sometimes makes us feel, we need to remember that even our most extreme enemies of the past are capable of becoming at least our peaceful neighbors, and maybe more. And therefore, it's important to remember. Now, what I wanted to talk about in that regard is the experience that I've just come back from. My students on the program that some of you know that I run, the gap year program, Kivunim, where we have students between high school and college, originally and most years, of course, based in Israel. This fall, we were not able to start in Israel, but we'll be there by January. A program where we travel around the world, understanding the experience of the Jewish people historically and contemporaneously. Some of you were with me as a result of Kivunim in Morocco, and you experienced some of this very much firsthand. And what I want to stress is that in the course of these last weeks, when if you read the newspaper, you would think it would be impossible to go anywhere with any kind of safety. We would have to be terrified of traveling anywhere. Our students and we have traveled all through Greece, into Bulgaria, across Spain, into Gibraltar, and just the other day came back from Portugal. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about Portugal because it has we have every year the most unique experience. Some of you may be aware of it, but in the city of Belmont, in the sort of mountains on the near the Spanish border, there is a small village where Jews have lived in secret for 500 years. These Jews, some of you have heard about them as Marranos, which is not a complimentary term, but that's the term most of us learned when we went to Hebrew school. These are secret Jews who, when the imposition of the Inquisition came upon them and they had to either leave the country or be killed at the stake, burned at the stake, or forcibly converted to Catholicism, many converted publicly and began to go to church and observe the Catholic religion while secretly remaining as Jews. But one of the things that most people do not know is that for all of these 500 years, they remained Jews in the most unique of ways, without any rabbis, Dan, forgive me, and without any real teachers. Who taught them? Who preserved Judaism? The mothers, the women. And one of their customs, which you may have heard of, and maybe many of you have never heard of, to this day, in homes, in villages all over this whole area of Portugal, on Friday late afternoon, as the sun is setting, the elder mother of the household goes into the kitchen, she opens a cabinet, and inside that cabinet, she places two candlesticks and she lights candles. She says no bracha. She probably says some private prayer. She can't tell you why she does it, but she does it because that's what her mother did. And this has been going on for 500 years. Only in the course of the last several decades have these people begun quietly and slowly to come out into the open. And it's really quite astounding when you visit these communities. You encounter people who have observed Judaism and consider themselves to be Jews. And by the way, they don't intermarry. They are practicing Jews with limited knowledge and practicing sort of pretend Catholics. They go to church every week, but they don't intermarry with the pure Catholics in the village. They only marry each other. And as a result of which, by the way, they, of course, have by now certain genetic defects that are being passed on from family to family, generation to generation. Some of these younger people are moving to Israel, and they will, marry into the general population, and they will improve the gene pool. But this whole process is quite astounding. Now, why do I want to mention this as a teaching on this Shabbat night? Because we all have an obligation in these moments when many of us are feeling very deep down sadness, a sort of give up kind of sadness, a feeling like we're under attack from all sides, and we don't really feel confident of what is going to happen to us. I think it's critical that we gain more and more knowledge, which we don't have, of the way in which Jews continue to live their lives all over the world, rebuilding communities or building communities from scratch. A month and a half ago, I was in a little town in Bulgaria named Plovdiv. It's the second largest city in the country, but it has a Jewish community of maybe 50 or 60 people. The head of the community is 25 years old. He is the child of a Jewish mother and a non-Jewish father. And almost every family in Bulgaria is there being rebuilt from families who are intermarried, who lived through communism, and who are literally teaching themselves to rebuild a Jewish community. What we're seeing in Israel and in Gaza is painful, is horrible on so many different levels. It can't become our image of the future. We have to develop, and where we have it, we have to increase our resilience, our sense of hopefulness, our hatikva, our sense that that is the core of our being. And by the way, tomorrow, if you come back, when we read Vayigash, the Torah reading for tomorrow, it is such an appropriate reading for what I'm saying now. It's the moment when the brothers come back to encounter Joseph, and he, instead of attacking them or punishing them or really making them suffer, he simply forgives them. And he says to them that their actions were divinely inspired, throwing him into the pit and thinking that they're going to kill him. And he knows deep inside that they told their father that he was dead. Nonetheless, he says to them, I don't want to punish you. I want to love you. I want to care for you. And our ability to overcome the most powerful attacks upon us personally and communally is our gift of the future. And in Hebrew, the word that we say when we put the Torah back, Chadesh Yamenu Kekedem, renew our days as of old, that root, Kuf, Dalid Mem, is the same root as the word Kadima, forward march, onward. Imagine that in the Hebrew language, the word for the past and the word for the future are actually the same. It's a lesson to all of us. We have to gather ourselves up and we have to stand in a very strong and powerful way towards a positive image of the future. We have to overcome the difficulties of this moment and we have to move forward. That's my message for this Erev Shabbat, and I thank you for your tolerance. And by the way, I want to also apologize. I didn't have much time to practice my singing as well, so I could hear myself going off key a few places there. I do very much apologize. Okay, so now let's go to Aleinu, which is for some reason that the creators of this gigantic prayer book thought they were saving space. We have to go all the way to 586 for Aleinu, and we'll sing together. Stand if you are able. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. 590. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. On this Shabbat, we remember the following: Isabel Becker, Bert Bitterman, Julian Busgang, Morton Schwatzky, Beverly Dashevsky, Deborah Fogarty, Gerald Goldsmith, Dr. Sam Gould, Dorothy Klein, Sean Leibowitz, Samuel Moskowitz, Jeffrey Nagelberg, Marvin Schreier, Walter Schwab, Barbara Strasser, Fania Verrett, David Weinstein, and on the ArtSite list, Augusta F. Axelrod, Tessie Bender, Fred Eber, Iago Galston, Beatrice Gruber, Philip Heller, Sylvia Honig, Rose Kaplowitz, Bertha Karp, Renee Kellman, Victor Kessler, Mary Kirshner, Vera Lee, Leah Levine, Emily Levy, William Littman, Michael London, Bob Matlick, Barry Metzger, Jacob Oberman, Morris Peskowitz, Sam Prober, Rudolph Proper, Marvin Schreier, Harold Sender, Amy Elizabeth Shapiro, Meyer Jacob Simon, Philip Spiegel, Pearl Weinstein, and Nat Zimmerman. If you are observing the ArtSite or saying Kaddish, please join me in the Mortis Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach liolam u'liolmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran bi'alama v'yimru amen. Yehei shalomo Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'meromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. You may be seated. I even have some announcements. I mean, can you imagine? So first of all, please join us for virtual Shabbat morning services tomorrow at 10 a.m. If you can take any more of me, I'm back on tomorrow at 10. And our service will be followed by a virtual Torah study led by Ruth Joseph. You know how fantastic Ruth is, so that's going to be wonderful. For your information, our temple office will be closed on Monday due to the Christmas holiday, and I want to wish all of our dear friends in the Christian community, the members of our families, and the members of our extended Sag Harbor, New York State, New York City, United States, and world family of Christianity, the most wonderful, Merry and Happy Christmas. On Tuesday at 5:30 p.m., the listening circle will be led by Rabbi Alan Levin, and that requires a registration. And on Wednesday at 6 p.m., Rabbi Dan's virtual class for temple members will meet in his newly constructed mouth. And as a result, he'll probably have some very interesting new things to say with a new arrangement of his teeth or whatever it is that he managed to do. Okay. So now we're going to recite Kiddush. I told you I'm bringing you something very special. There is a wonderful potter named Robert Lipnick. Some of you may know his brother, Rabbi Jonathan Lipnick, and this is one of his really remarkably beautiful pieces, which I was given as a gift years ago. So I'm going to recite Kiddush, instead of with a little cup, something really special and big for all of you. And you'll find the Kiddush on page 122 and 123. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivam vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa vayishbot bayom hashvi mikol melachto Asher asa vayevarech Elohim et yom hashvi vayekadesh oto kivo Shabbat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim lasot Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei Bri Hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lemahaseh v'reshit Ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat Kodshecha b'ahava uv'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. And now a motzi, I have a treat, which is that I had in the freezer almost an entire challah made from the great Bridgehampton and New York City challah maker Katja Goldman. It's only missing a little bit, but it's a Hanukkah. Look at that. A Hanukkah menorah. Now it's missing, one leg on this side and one on this side because we ate a little bit of it, but I froze it. And because we're having the family for a Hanukkah party on Christmas Eve, because we couldn't get together on Hanukkah. So this will be part of our celebration. But I'm going to say a motzi over it with you, and you'll get a virtual taste. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. So let's just take the, can I take the mute off? Let me see. Let's see. I don't know whether I can or not. Well, I probably can if I knew how to do it. So I wish I could hear you. I'll make sure. Wait, there are messages in the chat. Let me see whether something there is telling me what to do. Yeah, I know I have to unmute you. That's from 6 o'clock. Yeah. Well, I'll get some further information for tomorrow. So if you come back, we'll have some chance to talk a little bit. Let's just sing Shabbat Shalom. And thank you very much for tolerating my weak substitution. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to all, and I hope I'll see some of you tomorrow. Thanks very much.